Ready for a deep dive. Today we're exploring Viola Davis's memoir, Finding Me. It's a story that goes from her childhood in Central Falls, Rhode Island to, Hollywood and all those red carpets. We'll hear about the things she went through, but also her strength and how she found her voice.
It's interesting how the book's not just a straight autobiography, Davis mixes her own struggles with her successes in acting, giving us a deep look at identity, especially as a Black woman in America.
Yeah, I was hooked right away.
Yeah.
Davis paints such a clear picture of her childhood. Can you imagine? I mean, growing up without things like hot water or even plumbing, she talks about like always being afraid of fires because their apartment building was so run down.
Yeah, and it's remarkable how she doesn't avoid these tough parts, She describes the cold, the hunger, and the fear they lived with. It gives you a real sense of what she and her siblings went through.
And it was more than just poverty. Davis shares this chilling story about her mom giving her a crochet needle to protect herself from bullies.
Yeah, that really stayed with me, too. It's heartbreaking to think a child needed something like that just to feel safe. But it also shows her mother's, that fierce love, trying to prepare her for a world that wasn't always kind.
There's this one story that shows how hard things were. Davis talks about being chased home from school every day by these white kids led by this Portuguese boy. The names they called her, ugly and racial slurs, they really left a mark.
You can see how that early racism affected how she saw herself. It makes you think about how those experiences might connect to her later work for diversity in Hollywood, It wasn't just about her own success. It was about changing things for the next generation.
And it wasn't just that one thing. Davis describes violence as just part of their lives, not just from bullies, but within her family, too. She talks about her father's infidelity and the abuse her mother suffered.
Exploring those family dynamics is one of the most compelling parts of the book. You start to see the layers of trauma that were passed down.
There's this really touching moment where Davis learns her mother's real name was May. It wasn't just a name. It was about uncovering this hidden pain and how her mother tried to protect herself from the past.
It shows the power of names and identity, how they can, both reveal and hide who we are. It also makes you wonder about the untold stories in Davis's family, the things that maybe even she didn't know.
And then there are the haints, as Davis calls them. These spirits or ghosts were a big part of her family's beliefs. It's not something you'd expect in a Hollywood memoir, but it adds this layer of cultural understanding.
It's a look into the mix of folklore and faith that shaped their worldview. The haints were both scary and a way to explain things they couldn't understand, in a world that often felt chaotic. It shows how people find meaning and comfort even when things are tough.
With all this hardship, there was a turning point for Davis, discovering acting. She talks about watching Cicely Tyson in the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman and having this moment where she realized her purpose.
It's fascinating how she describes it. It wasn't just about, wanting to act. It was about seeing someone who looked like her, telling a story that resonated with her own life. It was about representation and the power of art to inspire.
She even tells a story about being in a community skit competition with her sisters. They were like total underdogs, going up against kids with real training. But guess what? They won.
Yeah, that win's about so much more than just a trophy. It's about believing in yourself, about exceeding expectations, and the joy of creating, even when things are stacked against you. It reminds me of that saying, talent doesn't, recognize socioeconomic backgrounds.
It seems like through her childhood and teenage years, there was always this pull between her tough life and this desire for something more. It's like she was reaching for the light even when surrounded by darkness.
Absolutely. And that yearning for something more is what pushed her forward even when things got hard.
Speaking of hard, college was a whole new set of challenges, right? She had a full scholarship to Rhode Island College, which is amazing. But she also felt like an outsider in a mostly white environment. Plus, the trouble at home continued. It wasn't an easy escape.
Right, and that's important. It shows that even when you move up in the world, it doesn't, automatically erase the scars of trauma or the inequalities that are still there.
Ready to keep going.
Yeah.
We've got a lot more to cover in Davis's incredible journey.
Yeah, it's interesting how even with that chance, Davis couldn't, totally leave her past behind.
Right. It wasn't like a fairy tale ending. She talks about her sister Danielle showing up at her dorm after their father attacked. Their mother Davis was still so young herself, but she was trying to to be there for her sister while dealing with her own stuff at college.
Yeah, it shows the huge responsibility she felt to protect her family, even as she was trying to make her own way. It's a burden a lot of people from tough backgrounds understand.
But she kept going through all of it. She
Yeah.
found comfort in the theater program and eventually decided to try acting professionally. But even that wasn't easy.
You really get a sense of her toughness and determination during this time. She talks about working all these different jobs, always struggling with money and getting rejected over and over. It would have been easy to just quit, but she didn't.
Then there's Juilliard, a top acting school. But even there, she had these unexpected problems.
This is where the book really digs into what it meant to be a Black woman, for her. She talks about feeling almost like her race was being ignored by the classes, which mostly focused on European classics.
It makes you think about how often voices like hers are left out of the traditional stories, even in places that are supposed to help you, express yourself artistically.
Exactly. But Davis found a way to explore her own heritage and celebrate Black art through this group at Juilliard called the Black Caucus. It was like a rebellion, a way to take back her own story and find strength in her identity.
And then there's her trip to the Gambia. It's not just a vacation, it's a turning point for her.
What's so powerful about that part is that it's about more than just finding your roots. It's about connecting with something deeper, something almost spiritual. She talks about seeing the Kanyala women drumming and singing and feeling this overwhelming sense of belonging, of being part of something ancient and powerful.
It makes you realize that sometimes you have to go far away to really figure out who you are.
Right. And it's not always about a physical trip either. It can
Yeah.
be, an internal journey too, a journey of self-discovery and healing.
Of course, we can't talk about Viola Davis without talking about love. She met her husband, Julius Tennant, in this kind of unexpected way on the set of City of Angels.
Their love story is really heartwarming. You can tell that Julius brought a sense of stability and unconditional love that she really needed. He became her anchor, her partner in building a life full of joy and purpose.
And he's fiercely protective of her, too. There's that funny story about Julius almost getting into a fight with this police officer who pulled Davis over for speeding.
You remember that? He came running out of their apartment in his pajamas, ready to defend his wife. It shows how much he loves and cares for her, but it also highlights the reality of racial profiling and the constant threat of injustice that Black people, even successful ones, face in America.
And their love story goes beyond just romance. They chose to adopt a daughter, Genesis, which added this whole new level of joy and fulfillment to their lives.
It speaks to how much they're capable of loving and their commitment to making a family in their own way.
So we see Davis navigating her career, finding love, and starting a family.
Hmm.
But she still had challenges in Hollywood,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. She talks openly about the biases she faced as a dark-skinned Black actress. She was often told she wasn't pretty enough for certain roles and was stuck playing, limited, often stereotypical parts.
It's frustrating because it shows how deeply rooted those prejudices are, even in an industry that's supposed to be about creativity and pushing boundaries.
But Davis refused to be limited by those ideas. She kept pushing, kept getting better at her craft, and never stopped believing in herself.
And it paid off. A big moment came with her Tony Award-winning performance in August Wilson's play King Hedley II.
That role was a game changer. It showed everyone her incredible talent and range as an actress, silencing any doubts about her ability and captivating audiences and critics.
It's funny, she actually wasn't sure about taking the role at first. She thought it was too small. Thankfully, her husband, Julius, gave her a much-needed dose of reality.
He saw her potential even when she doubted herself. It's a reminder of how important it is to have people in your life who support you and believe in you, especially when you're facing setbacks or when you're doubting yourself.
That Tony win really took her career to the next level, leading to her first Oscar nomination for her role in the film Doubt. Talk about an amazing cast. Meryl Streep, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Amy Adams, and Viola Davis holding her own among those giants.
Her performance was just captivating. It solidified her place as a major force in Hollywood, a real testament to her talent and dedication.
It's inspiring to see how she kept pushing for more, breaking barriers and challenging the way things were. But it wasn't just about success in the outside world. She was also on a journey of personal growth and healing.
Yeah, she started therapy during this time, confronting the trauma from her past and learning to accept her true self. It's a powerful message that runs through the whole book. Success doesn't, automatically equal happiness or wholeness. It's a constant process of self-reflection, growth, and healing.
Her story is already so powerful. Can you believe we're only two-thirds of the way through this deep dive? What comes next for Viola Davis? So we've seen Viola Davis go from that childhood full of poverty and trauma to becoming this award-winning actress. But her story doesn't stop there. This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, it's in this later part of her career that Davis takes on a role that really makes her legacy as a pioneer, you know?
We're talking about Annalise Keating, the main character in the TV series How to Get Away with Murder. She's she's so complex and captivating.
This wasn't just another role. Annalise was brilliant, flawed, and yes, sexualized. She challenged the stereotypical roles that black actresses, especially dark-skinned black women, were usually given.
It's amazing to think how groundbreaking that was. I mean, we take it for granted now, but seeing a character like Annalise on TV, commanding the screen with such power and complexity, it was a big deal.
And it wasn't just the character herself. It was how Davis played her. She brought this raw honesty and vulnerability to the role, making Annalise feel real and relatable, even though she often did some questionable things.
The show was created by Shonda Rhimes, who's known for her diverse and interesting characters. It's like they were meant to work together.
Absolutely. Rhimes has this amazing ability to create characters that are both flawed and human, and Davis brought that vision to life in such a powerful way.
And the awards Davis made history
Hmm.
as the first black woman to win an Emmy for outstanding lead actress in a drama series.
It was a huge moment, not just for Davis, but for representation in Hollywood overall. It showed a shift, a recognition that people wanted stories that reflected the real diversity of human experience.
But Finding Me isn't just about her successes. It also talks about Davis's personal life, including her path to becoming a mother.
That part of the book is especially moving. She talks about her struggles with infertility, going through round after round of IVF with her husband Julius. It's a very personal and often painful experience that a lot of couples go through.
In the end, they decided to adopt, but even that wasn't an easy choice. Davis is so open about her fears and insecurities, especially considering her own tough childhood.
It's refreshing to hear that honesty from someone so well known.
Yes.
It makes those feelings of doubt and anxiety that many parents to be have, whether through adoption or having biological children, feel normal, you know?
But eventually they were blessed with their wonderful daughter, Genesis, and Davis's account of being a mother is full of love, joy, and this fierce protectiveness.
You can tell that becoming a mom was life-changing for her. It brought this new dimension of healing and purpose to her life.
Now, we can't talk about Viola Davis without mentioning Fences. This film was clearly a passion project for her.
Yeah.
It's based on the play by August Wilson, and it tells the story of this working-class black family in 1950s Pittsburgh.
This project brought together so many parts of Davis's life and career. She had been in the play on Broadway, winning a Tony Award for her performance,
Yeah.
and she was determined to bring the story to film.
And she did. Starring alongside Denzel Washington, who also directed the movie.
Fences was a hit with both critics and audiences, earning Davis her second Oscar nomination, this time for Best Supporting Actress.
But like you said before, it was about so much more than just awards. It was a personal project that let her explore these themes of family, forgiveness, and the complexities of Black life in America.
It's a fitting end to the story she tells in Finding Me, a story of resilience, of overcoming challenges, of finding your voice and embracing your true self.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Viola Davis's amazing memoir, what's the one thing you hope listeners will take away from it?
I think the most important takeaway is that our stories matter. No matter where we come from, what we've been through, or what society tries to tell us we're capable of, we all have a story to tell. And by sharing our stories, we connect with other people, we inspire change, and we create a more just and compassionate world.
Davis's story is a powerful reminder that even when things are incredibly hard, there's always hope. Hope for healing, hope for growth, and hope for a future where everyone has the chance to shine.
And that's something we're thinking about. How has Viola Davis's journey inspired you to embrace your own story and to fight for what you believe in?
If you haven't already, I really recommend reading Finding Me. It's a truly remarkable book that will stay with you long after you finish it. And that's a wrap on our deep dive for today. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.